Feeling upset, I went speeding late at night, never expecting to get caught by my new wife who works in public service. Embarrassed, I squatted in the corner of the traffic police station, head in my hands. Thankfully, she didn't seem to recognize me. She was just coldly writing out a penalty ticket nearby. I couldn't help but call out, "Wife!" The auxiliary officer nearby burst out laughing. "Well now, if I recall correctly, you're the TH guy this month to call officer by wife." I was fucking speechless. Who the hell are these guys randomly calling her that? Is my wife someone you can just call wife? It makes me feel like I've been cuckolded. I glanced sideways at the wall calendar. It's only the beginning of the month. I've been married to Bai Ningbing for half a year. By my count, we've met a grand total of 3 times. The first time was for registering the marriage and our simple wedding ceremony. The second was for New Year's Eve dinner. And if you're asking about the third time, well, that's right now. The officer who administered the breathalyzer looked puzzled. Strange. No alcohol detected. Why were you driving so fast? Caught red-handed, I felt a bit guilty. My first time speeding and I get nabbed. The reason was, well, I was feeling really down. To gain the sympathy of the male officers present and hopefully get lenient treatment, I put on a tearful, snotty display, lamenting, "What sin did I commit to deserve this? My wife started cheating right after we got married. Staying out all night is the norm for her. And I have to hand over my salary so she can support some male college student. She's as passionate towards that student as she is cold towards me." The officers nearby were moved, filled with righteous indignation, turning into champions of justice. "That's outrageous. Where's your wife? We'll help you deal with that despicable pair." Whoosh! A small notebook came flying and hit the officer squarely on the back. A cold, crisp female voice rang out. "I told you to write tickets, not stand around gossiping." A chill went down my spine. Crap, every night hated me constantly. Fine then. I'll let you be together. Thinking this, I looked at Lin Shiyu again and said, "What were you asking me just now?" "Honestly, you." Lin Shiyu blushed slightly, then said in a low voice, "Xiang Wei confessed to me. Do you think I should say yes to him?" Say yes? Without the slightest hesitation, I nodded. Definitely say yes. I wholeheartedly approve. Huh? Lin Shiyu stared at me, shocked, as if those words should never have come from my mouth. Don't hesitate. You should boldly pursue your own love, right? If it were me, I'd just nod yes immediately without any hesitation. I told Lin Shiyu the answer with absolute certainty. Lin Shiyu looked even more surprised. But you? We're just neighbors who happen to be born in the same year and grew up together, that's all. Compared to your love life, I'm nothing. Of course, I knew what Lin Shiyu wanted to say, but I didn't give her any chance. I cut her off. Just hurry up and say yes to. She didn't look at me once, filling out the form with an icy face. I thought she was only cold at home. I didn't expect her to be even colder in public. No, not just cold, this was utter indifference. Thankfully, I knew her well enough to understand this was just her nature. "Name?" my wife suddenly asked, throwing me for a loop. Considering the situation, I meekly gave my name, Yifan. She proceeded to ask for various personal details, including my home address and a reason for speeding. After a short while, Bai Ningbing put down her pen. I reached across the desk, gently tugged her sleeve, and murmured, "Wife." Of the 3 staff members nearby, 2 choked on their water and 1 did a spit take. Bai Ningbing didn't look at me. She picked up the form and walked toward the counter opposite. "Kid, you've got some serious nerve calling her that out loud. But forget about it. Deputy Chief Bai was appointed from above. She has a boundless future. Besides, like I said, guys have called her wife this month already." Seeing that Bai Ningbing hadn't come over yet, the officer who had spoken earlier approached me and said in a low voice, "Believe it or not, our Chief Bai, with that face of hers, she draws a lot of attention, but she normally hates it when men try to cozy up to her for no reason." After speaking, he handed me a cigarette and lit. Advising, "Brother Yifan, don't blame me for not warning you. Watch your attitude. She's principled and incorrigible. She usually won't give you a hard time. As for wanting to be her husband, just dream about it. Don't say it out loud." Taking a deep drag from the cigarette, my rebellious streak instantly flared up. I took out a little red booklet from the car's armrest compartment, flipped it open with both hands, and shoved it right in front of the three officers. Look clearly. What is this? It's a marriage certificate. Your chief bai is my wife. At first glance, the three saw it was just as I said. They snatched the marriage certificate and examined it closely from every angle. Their eyes were wide with shock and gasps escaped their lips. Leaning against the door frame with a cigarette dangling from my lips, I watched the astonished and envious expressions on the three men's faces. The one issuing the penalty notice is my wife. The one paying the fine and collecting me is also my wife. Just as I was reveling in my smugness, I suddenly felt the air temperature plummet. A figure emanating a powerful, oppressive aura approached. I quickly ducked my head, dropped the cigarette on the ground, and stubbed it out. Turning my head, my eyes met a pair of eyes shining like obsidian beneath long lashes. She slapped the printed document onto the desk, pointing to the bottom right corner. Signature, I asked meekly, whose name? Bai Ningbing's delicate eyebrows furrowed slightly, and she shot me a look that questioned my intelligence. Only then did I realize. I quickly picked up the pen and signed my name with flamboyant, confident strokes. Then I carefully pushed the document pen back toward her. Suddenly a wail erupted from a young officer nearby. I subconsciously turned to look, only to see the young man from earlier clutching his shin, rubbing it to ease the pain. Bai Ningbing retracted the leg she had kicked out, closed the marriage certificate, and stuffed it into my hand. Put this away properly. Don't take it out for no reason. Another officer trotted over and handed a receipt to Bai Ningbing. She then stuffed the receipt into my hand too. License suspended, fine. Blinking innocently, I looked at her. No need for detention or anything. Bai Ningbing stood straight, meeting my gaze directly, her dark pupils revealing a solemn and stern aura. I'm cm tall and Bai Ningbing is cm, but in her heeled leather shoes she was my height, yet in terms of presence, there was absolutely no comparison. Seeing my innocent, hurt expression, Bai Ningbing finally relented slightly. Wasn't serious enough for that. Go home. As I flustered like gathered my things, my stupid self asked, has the fine been paid? Bai Ningbing nodded. Paid. Oh, a collected sound of teasing understanding rose from the male officers nearby. Bai Ningbing slowly turned her head towards them. The area fell instantly silent and everyone uniformly lowered their heads. Following Bai Ningbing out of the traffic police department entrance, I turned back before leaving to give the officers a wave, departing breezily. Reaching the car, I placed my hand on the driver's door handle. A soft cough sounded behind me, and only then did I remember my license had just been suspended. Shaking my head helplessly, I said, "You head back to work. I'll call a designated driver." The words were barely out of my mouth when Bai Ningbing opened the driver's door and slid right in. Utterly dumbfounded, I stared at her blankly. Bai Ningbing shot me an annoyed glance. Get in. I quickly hurried over to the passenger side and got in. After fastening my seat belt, the car pulled smoothly away from the station. It was exceptionally quiet inside. Back where there were more people, I could manage a few words, but now I had no idea what to talk about. I awkwardly fidgeted with my fingers. What got into you tonight? 2 seconds later it finally clicked, and just as I was about to explain, I sighed instead. Haven't seen my wife in months, been in a bad mood. My head was practically buried in my chest when someone suddenly tapped my arm, pushing me upright. I tensed up, straightened my posture, and glanced at Bai Ningbing beside me. She was focused on the road ahead, her gaze never once drifting toward me. Confused, I asked, "What's up?" "Seat belt." Her words were lipped, but I got the message. My seat belt was crooked. After adjusting it, I looked at Bai Ningbing again. Still driving with rigid precision, her eyes never left the road. Yet somehow she knew exactly what I was doing. I licked my lips. For a second there, I thought you were gonna lecture me. We'd barely ever spent time alone together, but with just the two of us in the car now, the silence was painfully awkward. Street lights streamed through the window, casting a glow on half of Bai Ningbing's face, cold yet strikingly beautiful. Out of nowhere she spoke. "Why would I lecture you? I saw you kick your subordinate earlier, so I thought you were gonna hit me." Bai Ningbing turned her head slightly, her expression unreadable. "Are you my subordinate?" There was a hint of mockery and resignation in her tone, for some reason around her. I always ended up acting insecure, and not just regular insecure, but the kind of stupid, cringe-inducing insecurity that even I couldn't stand. The only thing left to do was shut up. We arrived at the underground parking lot of our complex. After killing the engine, Bai Ningbing didn't get out. Before we got married, I told you my job is unusual. I'm rarely home. You said you understood. I thought you actually got it. Maybe it was her profession, or maybe it was because she was my superior, but the way she said it made me feel like a student being scolded by the principal. I nodded. I know your job's different. Long hours, frequent business trips. Bai Ningbing leaned back in her seat, arms crossed, staring ahead with a resigned expression. I knew dragging this out wouldn't help, so I came clean. My parents weren't egging me about having kids tonight. Got annoyed, so I went for a drive. I drive at kilometers per hour. I hunched my shoulders. Won't happen again. Bai Ningbing seemed to let it go. Opening the door and stepping out, we walked toward the house, one after the other. Once home, we retreated to our own rooms. Logically, to people living together without talking or interacting should feel awkward. But with Bai Ningbing, aside from the initial discomfort, I didn't feel any tension at all. After washing up, I headed to the kitchen for some warm water. There I saw Bai Ningbing in the living room adjusting her uniform and putting on her police cap. I froze. You're going out again? Her hair wasn't fully dry yet. I watched as she buttoned up her shirt. She glanced at me and nodded. Yeah, my turn for night shift. Seeing her pull on black socks, I couldn't bring myself to suggest she stay home. You never worked at the traffic police unit before, right? Lacing up her shoes, she replied, just a temporary transfer. I'll be back at the station soon. With that, she gave me one last look, turned the doorknob, and left. I watched her figure disappear into the distance, soon replaced by the taillights of her car until she was completely gone. Come to think of it, ever since we were kids, I've always been watching her back. In kindergarten, she comforted me when I cried. By 3rd grade, she'd already skipped to middle school. When I started 7th grade, she was in a top-tier youth program. By the time I finished high school, she had already graduated with a master's degree. Can you believe it? Too young, her parents made her pursue her doctorate, then join the selected civil servant program. By the time I graduated with my bachelor's degree, she had already completed 2 years of intensive training and was directly appointed as a level investigator. Aside from attending the same kindergarten, I could never keep up with her pace in studies. If our parents weren't family friends for generations, I probably would never have seen her in my life. No, wait. Perhaps once during the spring festival. In my hazy memory, there was only her stand-out height, her devastatingly beautiful face, and her unattainable aloofness. I had always secretly admired her, but I knew it was impossible. It wasn't until I became her husband that I realized it wasn't a dream. It's just that, as a married couple, we're worse off than roommates sharing rent. The next day was the weekend, and my father-in-law asked me over for dinner. Only when I arrived at the Bai residence did I realize Bai Ningzu was also there. Bai Ningbing was excessively outstanding, leaving her peers far behind. Her younger sister, Bai Ningzu, however, was much more normal. Equally tall and beautiful, but not good at studying, not even reaching the average level. How would I know? I went through school with her normally from kindergarten all the way to graduating with our bachelor's degrees. I had the top score for university admission, she had the last. As soon as I arrived, she dragged me into a dual queue. Look at your sorry self. Hurry up and play support for me. I shook my head, refusing, resting my head lazily on the table to watch her play. Tell me, what kind of guys does your sister like? Hearing my question, Bai Ningzu laughed heartily. Don't worry, definitely not your type. I kicked her chair playfully. Get lost, talk properly. Click, the door was pushed open. Bai Ningbing made her grand entrance, radiating the aura of an ice queen. She wore a white shirt, her jacket draped over her arm. Taking off the jacket revealed an even more stunning figure, dazzling enough to make one unable to keep their eyes open. Hearing her, my mother-in-law took her jacket and pulled her into the living room. As soon as she entered, she scanned Bai Ningzu and me like a scanner. I immediately sat up straight. She glanced coolly at Bai Ningzu, then simply sat down opposite me, My father-in-law and mother-in-law continued their battle in the kitchen. I moved over next to her and poured her a glass of boiled water. You came too? Bai Ningbing glanced at me, picked up the glass, took a sip, and said nothing. Across from us, Bai Ningzu, enjoying the show, burst into merciless laughter. Oh my god, I can't. This is hilarious. This is her house. Does she need a reason to come back? So awkward I could dig a hole in the floor. I call my own parents mom and dad so often, I just realized I was at my in-laws' house. Not my own. I don't know why, but I always end up saying thoughtless things in front of Bai Ningbing. Fortunately, I've embarrassed myself so many times it doesn't matter anymore. Pausing for a moment, I asked, were you tired from being on duty yesterday? Maybe you should go rest for a bit. Bai Ningbing put down her glass slowly, relaxed her body, and leaned back against the sofa. Suddenly, a fair, delicate hand reached behind my neck and patted it gently twice, then it slid down my back to rest on the sofa. The delicate touch instantly made my brain crash, leaving me frozen on the spot. Call me when the food is ready. After saying that, Bai Ningbing closed her eyes, leaving me alone sitting on pins and needles, heart pounding, face flushed red. After lunch, Bai Ningbing changed into her work clothes, ready to go back to work again. I followed behind her, watched her get into the car. Before she left, I stuffed a few warm tangerines into her hand. I picked the female ones. They're very sweet. Eat them at work if you get thirsty. Bai Ningbing raised an eyebrow, looking at me with an unreadable expression. The scene became awkward for a moment. Bai Ningbing took the tangerines from my hand. The brief touch made my heart flutter again. Go back inside. I nodded, about to turn and leave, when I suddenly remembered something just before she started the car. Find some time to rest. Bai Ningbing nodded, waving for me to go back into the house, and the car gradually disappeared from view. I stood there feeling a bit lost. She's long gone and you're still looking. Not until Bai Ningzu tossed a can of Coke over did I realize I had been standing there for a long time. She had come out looking for me. I popped the tab, took a sip, and sighed. I wasn't sure if I was asking her or myself. Isn't it strange? Before, I rarely saw your sister. Just bumping into her occasionally felt satisfying and made me happy. Now we're married, see each other more often, even live under the same roof, but I feel it's not enough. I want to interact more with your sister, be closer. I turned to look at Bai Ningzu, who looked almost identical to Bai Ningbing. Tell me, am I being too greedy? Bai Ningzu looked me up and down with an expression of disdain, seemingly unable to comprehend my feelings. You two are already registered. You're a couple living under the same roof. What is it you want to do that isn't convenient? After saying that, Bai Ningzu twisted open her Coke and took a gulp. Also, my sister is indeed a bit cold, but she's not heartless. The fact that she agreed to register the marriage with you means she acknowledges you in her heart. It just takes time and the right opportunity to become closer. At this point, Bai Ningzu grinned mischievously. Besides, that blockhead has never even dated. As long as you follow the guidance of me, the love guru, and seduce her appropriately, won't she be putty in your hands? Hearing her say that, it actually seemed to make sense. I couldn't just wait for Bai Ningbing to take the initiative and approach me. But the approach needed careful handling. I understood the principle that going too far is as bad as not going far enough. The next day was Sunday. I cooked up a storm at home. Packing up for dishes and a soup, I headed to the traffic police brigade with the lunch, which looked, smelled, and tasted great. I heard Bai Ningbing was due to be transferred back soon, but for this month she was still at the traffic police brigade. I sent her a message beforehand to avoid a wasted trip. When I arrived at the entrance of the traffic police building, Bai Ningbing was surprisingly already waiting for me there. As I got out of the taxi, Bai Ningbing saw me carrying multiple bags and frowned slightly. What's this about? I held up the insulated bag for her to see. I brought you lunch. I happened to be off today, so I made a few dishes and brought them over. I blurted it all out at once, giving her no chance to refuse. Bai Ningbing didn't say much, just told me to bring it to her office. Once in the office, Bai Ningbing finally asked, "Why the sudden idea to bring me lunch?" Looking at her cool and elegant face, I pretended to be calm and said naturally, "Dad said you're busy with work and just grab whatever for meals. I'm your husband, of course I should care about you more." After hearing this, Bai Ningbing offered no extra words. Just take care of yourself. Then she went to answer the phone, signed some papers and whatnot. She didn't seem to stop. Before long she put on her hat, looking like she was heading out. I quickly called out, "Have a bite before you go." Bai Ningbing glanced at me. "No time. Share it with the others." Undid it. I quickly turned around, opened the insulated container, packed some food into it, sealed it, and then chased after her. I caught up just as Bai Ningbing's car was about to leave. "Take it. Eat on the way." Bai Ningbing paused for a moment but still took the lunchbox. Afterward, I called the others in the office to eat together. Several big guys ate with looks of pure bliss, praising my cooking skills nonstop. Then they started gossiping about what Bai Ningbing was usually like at home. Cheeky guys. I treated them to lunch hoping to find out about Bai Ningbing's situation at work, but they started prying into my side of things first. However, the time spent at home after work was really too short. There wasn't much to tell. The young man I had kicked the night I was speeding laughed while eating. "Brother-in-law sure is bold. You're the only one who dares call Chief Bai to eat when she's heading out on duty. If we did that, we'd have to write a self-criticism report when we got back." I exchanged information with the young guys and we quickly became friends, even exchanging contact details so we could chat. She handed me the empty lunchbox. Opening it, I saw not only had she finished the food, but she had also washed it clean. With my initiative, our relationship was gradually making steady progress. One day, Bai Ningbing's colleague, who was also her best friend, was getting married and invited us as a couple. Wasn't this the perfect opportunity? Amidst the clinking glasses and toasts, I used the excuse that Bai Ningbing had just finished her shift, saying she couldn't drink. Then I shamelessly boasted, "Tonight, I'm drinking for 10. Bai Ningbing sat quietly beside me, showing no intention of stopping me, just watching me calmly without a word. Gazing at Bai Ningbing beside me, wearing a dress for the first time, I felt possessed by courage, grabbing the Baiyu serving pitcher and drinking directly from it. In the heat of the drinking battle, the alcohol went to my head. I brazenly warned Bai Ningbing, "Wife, move away a bit. I'm afraid I won't be able to protect you when the melee starts later." Bai Ningbing pulled me, who was standing shouting, "Back down," ripping the back of my neck and pressing me onto the chair. Meeting her stern gaze, my head instantly cleared. I shrank back and chuckled. "My bad, I'll keep my voice down." The corners of Bai Ningbing's mouth lifted slightly, but she didn't say another word. After that, I politely accepted challenges from all sides. Before the second round even started, I was completely out of it. After all, at a drinking table, the type they fear least is someone like me. The loudmouth challenging everyone. Without a word, Bai Ningbing took my glass, clinked it with those who came to toast, and downed it in one gulp. Her powerful presence made the others retreat after finishing their toasts. However, some from other tables were bolder, spurred on perhaps by Bai Ningbing's image as a cool, reserved beauty. Roughly calculating, she must have drunk about half a liter of Baiyu. If the bride, her best friend, hadn't intervened, she probably would have kept drinking. As the one who started it all, my face burned with shame and I didn't dare lift my head. Bai Ningbing patted my shoulder. "Yifan, are you still sober?" Just as I was about to reply, an idea struck me. Isn't this a great chance? Use the drunkenness to get close, maybe even go further. I pretended to be dazed, turned my head, and tried hard to focus my eyes on her. Then I leaned sideways, acting like I was about to fall right off the chair. Although Bai Ningbing had drunk quite a bit, she was still quick enough to catch me. Seeing me almost collapse onto the floor, Bai Ningbing put my arm around her neck, placed it over her other shoulder, and held it securely. I let myself slump against her, allowing her to drag me away. Just outside the private room door, Bai Ningbing seemed to find it inconvenient and hoisted me directly onto her back. It really proved the saying, a slim figure can hold great strength. I opened my eyes just a crack, peeking as Bai Ningbing got a hotel room and our names as husband and wife. She took me into the elevator and into the room. She wiped my face and loosened my clothes. Seizing the moment when she bent down to wipe my face, I pretended to have a drunken fit and hugged her. I called her wife. Bai Ningbing simply acknowledged it, surprisingly not pushing me away. After hugging for a while, I felt the time was right. Holding the back of her head, I slowly leaned my face closer, I could feel her breath quickening until we were just a centimeter apart, when Bai Ningbing suddenly turned her face away. She just gave me a simple hug. Leaning on her shoulder, I instantly sobered up. At the same time, I felt extremely disappointed. "Stop your drunken act." After saying this, Bai Ningbing pushed me back onto the hotel bed. I quickly closed my eyes and lay down properly. Afterward, Bai Ningbing didn't lie down with me from the sounds. It seemed like she made do on the sofa. She left before dawn. Still lying in bed, I couldn't understand why. For us, a married couple for over half a year, we hadn't even held hands. Can you believe this? But the immediate problem was, after being so forward last night, how could I face Bai Ningbing now? Her evasion left me mortified. As noon approached, I still hadn't recovered from last night's disappointment. Ring. My phone rang. My heart filled with both anticipation and fear. Picking it up, I saw it was a call from my boss at the company. It turned out the company needed me to go on a long business trip. My boss, afraid I might refuse, specifically emphasized the importance of this assignment and the reward for completing it. Little did he know, this assignment felt like a pardon to me. Otherwise, how I would face Bai Ningbing back home tonight was going to be a real issue. I quickly went home, packed my bags, and was on a plane in less than 2 hours. After getting off the plane, I transferred to a green skin train, then a long-distance bus, a rural bus, and finally an ox cart. Along the way, I witnessed the changes from a big city to a remote village. My phone signal also went from G to G, then to G, and finally to no signal. After getting off the plane, I hesitated for a moment. Finally looking at Bai Ningbing's number, I hesitated for a long time and didn't dial it. As husband and wife, I naturally should have informed her about my business trip. But coward that I was, I didn't dare face her directly after what happened last night. Bai Ningbing most likely knew I was pretending to be drunk and that I planned to make improper advances towards her. I didn't want to think about it. The more I thought, the more ashamed and uncomfortable I felt. I spent over half a month in a mountain village that didn't even have phone signal. The mission was completed successfully. Everything in the mountains was clear waters, green mountains, blue skies, tranquil and warm, and kind-hearted people. The only downside was the lack of signal, completely cut off from the outside world. I imagined that if I really went missing here, the outside world might never even know. The night before I left, the simple villagers held a farewell feast for me. They called it a farewell feast, but it was actually all local homemade specialties, mountain chicken, duck, and mutton, along with homebred sorghum wine. Although it didn't look like much, it was the tastiest and most heartwarming meal I'd ever had. It would have been even more harmonious if you disregarded the final scene where the villagers got me completely drunk. In that moment of tipsy lightheadedness, I thought back to that night at the hotel when I was also drunk. Memories of Bai Ningbing, bit by bit from childhood until now, flashed through my mind like a slideshow. She and I were ultimately people from two different worlds. This time when I go back, I plan to confess to her. I'm not good enough for her. Let's just get a divorce. I remember a story before the Buddha's disciple and became a monk. He saw a young woman on the road and I fell deeply in love, unable to let go. The Buddha asked him, "How much do you love that young woman?" Ananda replied, "I wish to transform into a stone bridge, endure years of wind, years of sun, years of rain, just hoping this young woman will walk across the bridge." I felt a sense of empathy. I didn't want to become shackles binding Bai Ningbing. Just for her to glance at me once in a crowd would be enough. Heavy rain, mudslide, sharp shouts woke me from my sleep. I was staying at the village chief's house. He asked me to look after his grandson and ran out to warn the others. The sky was still dark. I quickly got dressed, took his 5-year-old grandson by the hand, and waited anxiously inside the house. Seeing the water level rising rapidly, already approaching the house's threshold, I decisively pulled the little boy and ran towards the back mountain. Unexpectedly, not only was the rainy path slippery, but the ground itself was very loose. We had barely climbed a few meters up the mountain when the entire slope collapsed and slid down. Feeling tree trunks crashing towards us, I could only hug the little boy tightly as we rolled down together. Sliding down with the entire slope felt like riding a magic carpet. I couldn't just wait for death. If the earth beneath us gave way, The boy and I would be buried. As the landslide passed the nearest corner, I leapt outwards, pulling the boy with me. We then tumbled into a cave. Not far away came the unsettling but fierce sounds of crashing and tearing. The cave entrance was also getting narrower. The village chief's grandson trembled in my arms. He cried until he was exhausted and fell asleep, only to wake up and continue crying. In a daze, unsure how much time had passed, a sliver of light came from the entrance. I struggled to open my eyes and tried to dig through the dirt to crawl out. After just a couple of tries, I knew it was impossible. As someone who usually works in an office, my pale and delicate hands were utterly incapable of digging my way out barehanded. Continuing to dig would only drain my energy faster. Outside, the sky darkened and then brightened again. I started running a fever and the little boy stopped crying, not because he wasn't scared, but because he was too exhausted to cry. I guess we must have been swept far away by the landslide and mudslide. Exactly how far no one knew. In the quiet cave, I thought about many things. I wondered if Bai Ningbing would grieve if I died, and how long it would take for her to marry someone else. Half a year? Or just 1 year? The thought of her forgetting me, signing a marriage certificate with someone else, and living under the same roof made my chest tighten. I wanted to cry, but all that came out was a hoarse sound. My throat was dry and aching. But maybe this was just fate. If Bai Ningbing cared about me, she would come looking for me, right? My consciousness grew hazy. In my days, I felt Bai Ningbing descending like a divine savior. I roped-eyed around her. She took the nearly unconscious child from my arms. Then she came back down and carried me out in her embrace. I felt safe, free to lean against her without restraint. If only this beautiful dream could last forever. I opened my eyes. The only thing above me was a fluorescent light on the ceiling. My whole body ached, and I couldn't muster even a shred of strength, as if every bone had been shattered. Struggling to move my fingers, I turned my head and saw long, jet-black hair, still beautiful despite being dotted with dried clumps of dirt. I reached out, trying to brush off one of those clumps. The woman beside the bed stirred instantly, sitting up. It was my long unseen wife, Bai Ningbing. A faint smile flickered across her exhausted face, but she quickly suppressed it. She touched my forehead, glanced at the monitor by the bed, then finally looked at me. Don't move around. They say those who survive great calamities are blessed afterward. So why was I being scolded the moment I woke up? My heart ached and I felt the urge to cry. Why are you yelling at me? Bai Ningbing seemed momentarily flustered. She grabbed a tissue and wiped the tears from the corners of my eyes. I'm not yelling. Just don't move, or the ivy will back up. How's the little boy? I changed the subject. Bai Ningbing nodded. He's fine, under observation in a regular ward. As she adjusted the IV drip, I reached out and held her fingers. Her movements paused briefly before she sat down and looked at me. I licked my dry lips. I thought I was going to die there. Bai Ningbing binged my cheek with her other hand. Yifan, you've got some nerve running off to such a remote place without a word. If your mother hadn't called me in tears, you really might have stayed there for good. Her words only made me feel worse. Before I left, I didn't dare message you. I was afraid you'd ignore me. Bai Ningbing looked at me, puzzled. Maybe someone like her only knew the annoyance of being pursued, not the feelings of the pursuer. Maybe she thought I was being melodramatic, but after surviving such an ordeal, I figured it was best to be honest, even if the consequence might be a clean break. I took a deep breath. That night we drank, you wouldn't let me kiss you. I thought you were angry. So I didn't dare message you. Bai Ningbing's brows furrowed, her expression turning serious. It was the first time I'd seen her like this. She cupped my face with both hands. Since when did I say I was angry or ignoring you? With my face squished, I could barely speak. I shook my head slightly, mumbling, I guess you didn't then. Judging by her tone, she didn't seem to dislike me. I held her hand and kissed the back of it. Bai Ningbing jerked her hand back as if shocked. Stop messing around. Pressing me down to lie still, Bai Ningbing instructed. Don't move around, or your wound might reopen. Why won't you let me kiss you? Do you hate me? Since the cards were on the table, I dropped the act and said whatever came to mind. Bai Ningbing stood up, looking down at me, and replied coolly. Are you done yet? I struggled to sit halfway up, leaning against the hospital bed. Don't change the subject. Do you not want to spend your life with me? What kind of marriage is this? Forget kissing. I haven't even held your hand. Bai Ningbing froze for a moment, then let out a soft sigh. Her face remained expressionless, as if it were incapable of showing any emotion. Yifan, I'm not a frivolous woman. If I hated you, I wouldn't have married you. If I hated you, I wouldn't have taken a helicopter the moment I got the call to come find you. She paused, turning to look out the window. Only when I saw you alive did I finally relax. I've never feared any criminal. I don't even know what fear feels like. But when I couldn't find you, her voice grew quieter. This was the first time she had ever spoken so much to me at once. Come to think of it, if she truly felt nothing for me, she wouldn't have married me. As a flower of the high peaks, her beauty and figure were perhaps the least remarkable among her many dazzling achievements. During the 2+ years she spent in closed-door training, our home gained a first-class merit plaque and a second-class merit plaque. Maybe I had never considered what kind of brutal experiences she had endured to become so cold toward everyone. But now perhaps I understood. She wasn't cold, just bad at expressing herself. In this moment I wanted to say something, but I didn't know what. Bai Ningbing withdrew her gaze from the window and turned back to me. On our wedding night and that other night you were drunk. I'm 2 years older than you with more life experience. I need to take care of you. I wanted to argue but realized everything she said was true. I wanted to talk to you properly when you were sober, not just when you were drunk. The fluorescent light illuminated Bai Ningbing's fair face as we silently locked eyes. Only by looking directly at her did I realize she not only had delicate skin, but also deep, bright eyes like Lake Baikal under a moonlit night. And I was slowly sinking into those dark waters. Actually, I wasn't drunk that night. Seriously. Give me a set of advanced math problems and I could solve them all. The corners of Bai Ningbing's lips curled slightly, her eyes carrying a faint trace of amusement. No wonder people say eyes can speak. Prove there exist infinitely many primes such that. Bai Ningbing suddenly threw out a number theory problem, completely catching me off guard. I stared at her blankly. What did you say? She suppressed her smile. Yifan, I don't know how to flirt or talk about love. But a pale hand grasped mine. Its owner now staring intently at me. Once I make up my mind, I won't change it. Holding her hand, I leaned in, closing the distance between us. I could feel Bai Ningbing's warm breath. Suddenly, a force pushed me back. My blood pressure spiked. What are you? Bai Ningbing's ears turned red as she glanced at the heart monitor. Wait until your injuries heal. For the next 2 days, Bai Ningbing personally took care of me. Only when a city bureau called repeatedly did she finally pack up and leave. With her gone, there was no need for me to keep pretending to be a patient. Under my mother's disdainful gaze, I devoured 3 bowls of food at every meal and was discharged 3 days later. Those 3 days felt like an eternity. I remembered clearly what Bai Ningbing had said. Wait until my injuries healed. On the day I returned home, Bai Ningbing was away on a mission. Gazing at the empty room, the excitement and anticipation in my heart turned into a helpless sigh. I refused Mom's offer to stay and take care of me. Quickly packing a few things, I ordered some takeout, then played a round of a game. After 1 round, I already felt bored. I remembered that online question, which is more important, your partner or games? The classic answer was playing with your partner playing games. Partner games, indeed. The emphasis is on After washing up, uncharacteristically, I grabbed my pillow and went to Bai Ningbing's room to sleep. Are girls' rooms usually this simple and tidy? A double bed, a desk lamp, a few books, that was it. But smelling the faint, fresh scent in the air, I suppose this counted as sharing a bed, didn't it? Drowsily, I sensed a figure moving beside me. Alarm bells instantly rang in my head. Had a burglar gotten in? I struggled to open my eyes. Sorry. Did I wake you? Bai Ningbing was wrapped in a bath towel. Tiny water droplets slipped through them, and then found a book called Jin Ping Mei. I was instantly embarrassed. Actually, I didn't have time to read this book either. A classmate strongly recommended it and insisted I take it. It said that the ancients loved reading this book, and I was curious what held such great attraction for them, so I planned to find out. I didn't expect it would still fail to escape Lin Shiyu's eyes. You even found this. I looked at Lin Shiyu and said, Actually, save your explanations. if you weren't reading this book. You should have been in the top 10 of our grade, Lin Xiyu said with a look of exasperation, disappointed I wasn't reaching my potential. I gave Lin Xiyu a deep look, then forcefully shoved the book on my desk mate. This book is good. Read it and cherish it. My desk mate looked completely bewildered but still opened it curiously. After that, my desk mate's grades dropped several places. Of course, that's a story for later. After Lin Xiyu got angry at my lack of ambition, I studied even harder, focusing entirely on my schoolwork. One day after school, in the familiar alley, Xiang Wei appeared again. Same hairstyle, still so cool and handsome. He wanted to say a few words to Lin Xiyu, but she just shot me a glare and walked straight away. Bro, you've really had it tough, Xiang Wei said meaningfully. You must have suffered quite a bit from Lin Xiyu because of my matter, right? Bro, nobody understands me better than you. Xiang Wei, I exclaimed, putting my arm around Xiang Wei's shoulder, acting like sworn brothers. Bro, tell me, why is it? Xiang Wei asked. Why is what? I asked confused. Isn't it Lin Xiyu? Xiang Wei frowned. You haven't forgotten about my lifelong happiness, have you, bro? Well, I looked awkward. Forgotten. I'd long since put it out of my mind. Besides, this guy was trying to make a move on my future wife. How could I let that happen? These past few days I've really thought things over. After the pain, Xiang Wei, completely oblivious to my unfriendly gaze, muttered to himself. Is it because I'm not handsome enough? Or not romantic enough? Can't express my feelings? I just can't figure it out. I'm clearly the most handsome guy in the entire school. So how can Lin Xiyu, not even spare me a glance? But after this test, I've figured out. I looked at Xiang Wei in surprise. You figured out again? The test. Xiang Wei looked at me excitedly. The grades. I asked, puzzled. Isn't it clear enough? Xiang Wei analyzed seriously. Lin Xiyu's rank is second in our class, 26th in our grade, and me. I'm at the bottom of the class, and my name can't even be found in the grade rankings. The gap between Lin Xiyu and me is right here, and because of this, I can't even enter Lin Xiyu's field of vision. If I'm willing to study hard, work diligently every day, and raise my grades to a level that even shocks Lin Xiyu, don't you think she might see me in a different light? And then I have a chance, right? Right up to Xiang Wei, astonished. Although Lin Xiyu would probably never like him, his idea wasn't bad. Shouldn't students focus all their energy on their studies? That he could now turn the power of love into motivation for studying was actually quite good. Although his motive wasn't pure, his approach was correct. Maybe years later, after he gets into a good university and finds a better girlfriend, he'll feel fortunate about this. I didn't want to dampen his enthusiasm, so I immediately nodded and said, Brother, you truly are a once-in-a-century genius. You think I'm right too? Xiang Wei asked excitedly. Yes, absolutely right, I nodded. But there's something else I wanted to ask of you, Xiang Wei said, pulling my arm, a shy look on his face. What is it? Just say it. I'll agree to anything. I nodded with a smile. Aren't you and Lin Xiyu neighbors? Which means you can often study and do practice tests together after school. Right? Xiang Wei said with a smile. Wouldn't we all improve together? Plus, I could use the opportunity to interact with Lin Xiyu every day and deepen our connection. It's a win-win. I stared at Xiang Wei, stunned. What the hell kind of win-win is that? You win, but I lose big time. You, a poor student studying with me, clearly means I'll have to tutor you. And that's not all. You're even after my girl. No matter how you look at it, I'm the one getting the short end of the stick. I don't know what happened to this Xiang Wei, his brain suddenly clicked. He's way too cunning. What? Seeing I wasn't happy, Xiang Wei asked. You don't think this plan is good? If you don't like it, I have another backup plan. Let me tell you. Don't. I quickly waved my hand. Don't say any more. Let's go with this plan. But I have to ask Lin Xiyu. I must get her agreement first. Of course. Xiang Wei immediately gave me a salute, then said with a look of utmost, Brother, my entire future rests in your hands. This brother of mine, I really don't want him right now. I grumbled inwardly and said goodbye to Xiang Wei. After getting home, I found Lin Xiyu and told her about Xiang Wei's proposal. Lin Shiyu listened, frowning slightly. I think this is actually quite a good idea. You think it's good? I asked. Of course. Zhang Wei usually doesn't try hard. If we can help him improve while we're improving ourselves, it counts as doing a good deed. Lin Shiyu smiled. He'll thank us later. His goal isn't that simple, I said. Isn't that all because of you? Who told you to be so presumptuous and push him to like me? Lin Shiyu said unhappily. I hesitated. After thinking carefully, I thought about my 30-year-old hurdle. If I wasn't around anymore, what would Lin Shiyu do alone? More friends mean more options. I must pave the way for Lin Shiyu while I'm still alive. Of course, these are just thoughts in my head. I decided to agree to this. Our college entrance exam victory trio was formed. The next day, Zhang Wei was the most excited. He told everyone he met, boasting loudly. Even our homeroom teacher found out about it. Because of this, the homeroom teacher called Lin Shiyu and me into the office and earnestly lectured us with a lot of life principles. It basically boiled down to, this is a critical time for the college entrance exam, and we couldn't let a poor student jeopardize our own studies. Lin Shiyu and I nodded repeatedly. Soon it was time for another test. My score ranked first in the class and 9th in the grade. Lin Shiyu was second in the class and 22nd in the grade. Zhang Wei was the happiest. He had improved from ranking in the 30s in class to 21st in his class, although he still didn't rank in the grade. His progress was visible to the naked eye. This attracted a lot of envy, and because of it, many people started paying attention to our college entrance exam victory group, and countless others wanted to join. While some were genuinely here for their studies, most had ulterior motives. Many were actually trying to get close to the campus beauty, Lin Shiyu. Of course, there was also a group of girls who were likely here for Zhang Wei after all. Although this Zhang Wei guy didn't have great grades, he had good looks and a unique style, which were very attractive to girls. So naturally I couldn't agree to let these people join. Besides, the group size really shouldn't be too large. Too many people would just distract everyone, not only defeating the group's purpose but also reducing efficiency. It wouldn't be worth it. As the leader of the Gaokao Victory Study Group, I naturally had to shoulder the responsibility. I rejected all their applications without mercy. Because of this action, I offended many people. Some people started expressing their dissatisfaction with me privately. Sometimes I would even overhear some whispers. What's he so proud of? It's just a study group. We'll start one tomorrow too, and it won't be any worse than theirs. Exactly. We didn't even want to join anyway. I bet he just wants daily contact with the campus beauty himself, taking advantage of his position. That must be it. I wanted to use this chance to get to know Zhang Wei from class, and this guy actually rejected my application. I'm furious. PFF, ignore him. What's he got to be so smug about? I know people in class. I can ask them to introduce you to Zhang Wei. There were many kinds of unfriendly comments, but having lived a life before, I naturally wouldn't take them to heart. To me, most people here were merely passers-by in my life. However, although I didn't care about these things, I still underestimated human nature, and a greater disaster would soon befall me because of it. One day, the homeroom teacher called me to the office. When I arrived at the office, I saw another girl sitting there. She wore glasses and looked very quiet. She got very excited when she saw me. Hello, I responded politely, not thinking much of it. Soon my homeroom teacher arrived, and with her was the homeroom teacher of class. The class homeroom teacher looked at me and smiled. You must be Fan. Hello, teacher, I said politely. Yes, quite impressive. The class homeroom teacher nodded and then looked towards my homeroom teacher. My homeroom teacher politely asked me to sit down and even poured me a glass of water. Teacher, why did you call me here? There's a national math competition coming up soon. Elite high school students from all over the country will be participating. My homeroom teacher looked at me with a gentle smile. If you can distinguish yourself in such a major competition and achieve a good ranking, you'll have a chance to be preferentially admitted to top universities, securing guaranteed admission. And if you place in the top 3, you're certain to get guaranteed admission to Tsinghua or Peking University. Hearing this, my eyes widened and my heart pounded with excitement. Really? Don't get too excited just yet, my homeroom teacher said with a smile. The spots for the competition are very precious. Our school has many classes, but there are only 3 spots in total. Hearing this, I wasn't worried at all, because I knew very well that since the homeroom teachers from 2 different classes had both come to see me, they must intend to give me one of the spots. Otherwise, why would they have specifically sought me out and mentioned this matter? I smiled then. Teacher, how can I get the spot? Hearing this, my homeroom teacher and the teacher from class exchanged smiles. My homeroom teacher said, you could say it's difficult, but it's also simple. What's the condition? The homeroom teacher pointed to the quiet, demure girl beside me who hadn't said a word, stating, as long as you let her join your college entrance exam victory group and in the next test raise hers or into the top 50 of the grade, this spot will be yours. I looked at the girl beside me. I never would have thought the condition would be this. This girl looks so ordinary. How could she receive such special treatment? Could it be that her family background is very influential? That must be it, absolutely. I took a deep breath. But on second thought, no matter how influential this girl's family background was, it had nothing to do with me. For me, this spot was too important, guaranteed admission to Tsinghua or Peking University. The allure was too great. It directly shut my mouth, leaving me with no excuse to refuse. Well, my homeroom teacher and the teacher from class both looked at me with smiles, seeming very confident in me. Do you have confidence? I can't make any guarantees, I said. Just do your best. We have confidence in you. The homeroom teacher smiled. After all, you managed to help a poor student improve their grades so much. Helping Woo-zihan improve shouldn't be too difficult. The allure of guaranteed admission was simply too great. I simply couldn't find any reason to refuse. After school, Lin Shiyu, Zhang Wei, and I walked together to the school gate, and the girl named Woo-zihan was already standing there waiting. Hello, senior. Woo-zihan immediately greeted me, politely upon seeing me. Zhang Wei and Lin Shiyu were slightly taken aback and both looked at me. Where did you find this pretty girl? Zhang Wei looked at me with a knowing grin. Didn't expect this. You're quite something. Don't talk nonsense. The homeroom teacher recommended her for our college entrance exam victory group. I explained. What? Zhang Wei exclaimed. Your homeroom teacher actually forced someone into our group. No way. It didn't even go through me. I don't agree. To be precise, it was our class homeroom teacher and the class homeroom teacher teaming up to force her in. I looked at Zhang Wei. Do you want to challenge the homeroom teachers? Well, Zhang Wei instantly chickened out. Just pretend I didn't say anything. Then I looked at Woo-zihan, introduced Zhang Wei and Lin Shiyu to her, and the 4 of us set off, on the way. Lin Shiyu and I walked ahead while Zhang Wei intentionally lagged behind, pestering Woo-zihan with questions, making the girl blush. Lin Shiyu, walking beside me, asked, You actually bow to authority? I couldn't help it. They really offered too much, I said. What was it? Lin Shiyu asked. The National High School Mathematics Competition. I looked at Lin Shiyu and said, If you excel in it, you could get priority admission spots to top universities. If you rank in the top 3, you get guaranteed admission to Tsinghua or Peking University. Lin Shiyu's eyes widened. This was something every high school student dreamed of. Even she had to admit they had offered too much. It was impossible to refuse. After a moment of surprise, Lin Shiyu glanced back at Woo-zihan. Who exactly is she? Her family background must be pretty significant, right? Seeing Lin Shiyu so surprised, I glanced back too. I shrugged and said, Who knows? Anyway, it's not our business. I actually think Zhang Wei seems quite taken with her. Might be something there. Lin Shiyu looked back again. Indeed. Let's hope this turns out to be a good thing, not a bad one. With Woo-zihan joining, our group became more lively. Woo-zihan was very quiet and reserved at first, but after getting familiar with us, she opened up and gradually started talking about everything with us. Lin Shiyu and I took turns tutoring Woo-zihan, putting a lot of effort into it. Zhang Wei was also putting in a lot of effort. Since Woo-zihan arrived, he seemed like a changed person, incredibly enthusiastic towards her. This enthusiasm even surpassed his previous enthusiasm for Lin Shiyu. Anyone could see that Zhang Wei was really serious this time and had made up his mind. But we saw through it and kept quiet. Days passed by like this. The results of another test came out. What I cared about most, of course, was Wu Ziyi's score. Without even taking the time to check my own ranking, I ran straight to class, found Wu Zihan and asked, "How did it go?" Wu Zihan looked at me, her face etched with disappointment. Seeing this, my heart sank. Didn't make the top 50? That couldn't be right. I had put so much effort into tutoring her, not just me. Lin Xiyu had devoted a lot of effort too. Besides, Wu Ziyi's original ranking was already around 60th in the grade. With just a little improvement, she should have easily entered the top 50. How could this be? I nervously grabbed the ranking sheet and scanned it from top to bottom. My score placed me 5th in the grade. Lin Xiyu's 19th. Continuing down the list, finally at the 50th spot, I saw Wu Ziyi's name. I breathed a sigh of relief, looked at Wu Zihan and asked, "See? You made it into the top 50, didn't you?" But Wu Zihan said, still looking crestfallen, "Shang Wei improved even more. He was originally ranked somewhere around TH in the grade, and now he's TH. He jumped over 100 places." Shang Wei's progress shocked me too. I looked closely, unsure enough. There was Shang Wei's name at the TH position. Such rapid improvement, even professional tutors would give him a thumbs up. Even a Bodhisattva witnessing it would shake their head in disbelief. Keep in mind, when I first met Shang Wei, he ranked in the 30s in our class and his name didn't even appear on the grade-wide ranking list. I was stunned for a moment, then turned to Wu Zihan with a smile. "Don't be discouraged. You only joined our study group recently. You'll keep improving." Wu Zihan looked at me and smiled. "Congratulations to you two." I chuckled happily. Right now I've only secured a spot to compete. Whether I can actually stand out and finish in the top 3 in the competition is still up in the air. "I'm sure you definitely can," Wu Zihan said confidently. "Thanks." Without another word, I immediately headed to the head teacher's office. Naturally, the head teacher gave me a thumbs up as well. When the 4 of us arrived home in the afternoon, we found gongs being beaten and drums sounding right at the doorstep. We wondered whose family was celebrating a joyous occasion with such fanfare. The 4 of us looked on curiously, but a big man ran over and, without any explanation, pulled me straight into a hug. "Mister, what are you doing?" I was completely stunned. "Would you like me to continue transforming the rest of this story, or focus on a specific plot point?" "You must be Yi-fan, right? I often hear my son talk about you. You're my son's savior. Thanks to you, he now has hope of getting into university." The big man, beaming with joy, gripped my hand, expressing his gratitude over and over. It turned out he was Shang Wei's dad. No wonder someone was beating gongs and drums. I turned back to look at Shang Wei, who seemed deeply embarrassed by his father's actions, looking like he wished he could just disappear into his collar. After the commotion with the gongs and drums, Shang Wei's dad insisted on taking us all out to a restaurant to show his gratitude. In the end, we declined, using the excuse that we still had practice papers to finish. However, my parents and Lin Xiyu's parents' word ragged off to the restaurant as our representatives. After that, I focused wholeheartedly on preparing for the math competition. In the blink of an eye, it was the TH. The competition was starting the next day. That day, the head teacher kept me behind after school, asking me to come to his office because there were some specific things he needed to discuss. I didn't know how long the head teacher would ramble on, so I told Lin Xiyu, Shang Wei, and Wu Zihan to go ahead and not wait for me. Besides, the competition was tomorrow and I had a lot to prepare. I told them I wouldn't be going to the study group today, letting them study on their own. Coming out of the office, it was already close to 7 in the evening. At this time in winter, it got dark quickly. By this hour, it was pitch black everywhere. Just as I was about to leave, a student I didn't know walked up to me and handed me a note. "What's this?" I asked. "I don't know either. Someone asked me to give it to you." The student said, "Thanks." Without thinking much, I thanked him and opened the note. It read, "Waiting for you in the lab." Next to it was a name, Wu Zihan. Seeing those words, I frowned slightly. Didn't Wu Zihan go to Lin Xiyu's place? Why would she be waiting for me in the lab? I was a bit puzzled, but Wu Zihan was a decent friend, so I didn't overthink it and went to the lab alone. The school's lab wasn't used often, so the lock was broken and no one had replaced it. I pushed open a lab door. It was pitch black inside. and I could vaguely make out a figure within. I tried to turn on the light, but it wouldn't switch on. Wu Zihan? I called out towards the human-like silhouette inside. The next moment, there was a loud bang behind me. I turned around to see the lab door had suddenly been slammed shut. Startled, I quickly turned back. The door was held shut firmly by someone. I couldn't pull it open no matter how hard I tried. Fear instantly gripped my heart, not fear of the darkness here, but fear of what would happen to tomorrow's math competition if I couldn't get out. This was something that could change my life. I absolutely couldn't lose this chance. I couldn't think of anyone I had such a deep grudge against. Who on earth would want to harm me like this? Who are you? In desperation, I desperately yelled toward the outside. What do you want? A man's voice came from outside. Yifan, if you want to blame someone, blame yourself for being clueless. What do you mean? Let me out, I shouted. Still pretending, huh? The person outside yelled. Since it's come to this, I'll tell you straight, Wu Zihan isn't for you. You shouldn't be hitting on her. What? Me hitting on Wu Zihan? What kind of nonsense was this? I pounded on the door angrily. You must be mistaken. Open the door first, we can clear this up. I have nothing to do with Wu Zihan. Huh. The person outside retorted. You think I believe you? You have to believe me, you must. I frantically pulled at the door, but it wouldn't budge. Give up. I've wedged the door shut with a wooden stick. Unless someone comes by right now, finds you trapped inside, and opens it from the outside, you won't be able to pull it open. The person outside said. His words drove me nearly to despair. I couldn't give up. Even though I'd likely only be trapped here for one night at most and someone would rescue me when they came for class the next day. But I couldn't miss the math competition. I pulled hard at the door again. You're just a greedy, the person outside said again. Isn't having the school beauty, Lin Shiyu, enough for you? You still want to compete with me for Wu Zihan? I don't understand. Why? I'm clearly better than you. Or exactly did I lose to you? The person outside grew increasingly agitated as he spoke. I, however, calmed down and listened quietly to his monologue. Better than me? I wasn't the type of troublemaker student who fought, so the way he was better than me could only be academically. I was ranked 5th in our grade, which meant this person was one of the top 4 in the grade. Among the top 4, there were 2 boys and 2 girls. The person outside was male, so it was either Chen Mingkai or Xiao Guangliang. Chen Mingkai? He's from class? Chen Mingkai, I ranked 1st in the grade. How could it be him? I was utterly shocked. I never would have imagined, not in a million years, that a nerd almost exactly like me could do something like this. Chen Mingkai immediately yelled towards the door. You're Chen Mingkai, aren't you? No, the person outside shouted. Stop pretending. You said you're better than me, so you must be one of the top 4. And there are only 2 boys in the top 4, I said. Xiao Guangliang's voice is very high-pitched. People nickname him Little Eunuch. So this voice can only be yours. Hearing my analysis, the person outside fell silent. Afraid he would just leave, I quickly said, Chen Mingkai, open the door now. If you open it right now, I'll pretend none of this ever happened. Otherwise, you know what you've done will ruin your future. Future? Hearing this, Chen Mingkai suddenly grew even angrier, shouting, for people like us, what future could possibly compare to a recommendation to Tsinghua or Peking University? You. Hearing this, my heart sank again. Chen Mingkai knew I had the competition tomorrow, yet he deliberately tricked me into coming here and locked me in, meaning he intentionally set me up to make me miss the competition. This guy is terrifying. My grades are clearly the best in the grade, so why wasn't this opportunity given to me? Why was it given to you? Chen Mingkai's escalating shouts came from outside again. It's not fair. Calm down, I yelled. How can I calm down? Chen Mingkai shouted. I'm clearly better than you at everything, yet I have nothing compared to you. The school beauty, the class beauty, they all like you. Even a recommendation spot goes to you. Why? I won't accept it, but your grades are still the best in the school. With your ability, you can definitely get in on your own. I knew anything I said now was futile. I could only try to soothe his emotions and explain the stakes. Open the door quickly. You can't disregard your future just because of this bit of jealousy. Think about your parents. Think about your... I spoke for a long time, but there was no longer any sound from outside. Chen Minka, I had already run off. How could this happen? I sank powerlessly to the floor, my face filled with despair. Knowing Chen Minka I had left, I was utterly desperate. I walked to the window. This was the top floor of the school, the 6th floor. I considered trying to climb down from here, but it was too high. Besides, there were no good footholds or handholds nearby, and I wasn't good at climbing. The probability of falling and getting injured was definitely over 60%. I wanted to take the gamble, but ultimately, I thought of Lin Shiyu. I thought of my parents, especially recalling my previous life, how I left at 30, the pain of my white-haired parents mourning their black-haired son, and how Lin Shiyu followed me in death. I suddenly felt the weight on my shoulders was heavy. I couldn't disregard them because of a moment's impulse. Climbing down from here, I had less than a 40% chance of success. Those odds were too low. The burden I carried was heavy. I still had to be filial to my parents. I still had to see Lin Shiyu happy every day. Besides, even if I attended the competition, it wasn't guaranteed I'd get the recommendation. Conversely, even if I lost this chance, it didn't mean I couldn't get into a top university. All of this calmed me down. I couldn't take the gamble. This bet wasn't worth risking everything for. I leaned against the corner, sat on the floor, and became completely calm. I spent the whole night thinking. It wasn't until near noon the next day that people came to the top floor lab for class. I was let out. The physics teacher looked at me astonished and asked what had happened. I didn't say a word. Soon I was taken to the office. My head teacher saw me, his face full of disappointment. Do you know how precious the spot was? Do you know what kind of opportunity you've missed? I'm sorry, I said, lowering my head. Teacher Zhang said, you were locked in a rooftop lab. What exactly happened? The head teacher asked, his face dark. Hearing this, I looked at the head teacher. Can I choose not to say? What do you mean? The head teacher frowned. If I say it, I might ruin that person's life. I looked at the head teacher and said, but he's a promising student. I don't want him to fall into an abyss because of this. You kid. The head teacher looked at me angrily and yelled, trying to be a saint. No. I shook my head. Who doesn't make mistakes? Even saints err and die. I just want to give him a chance, that's all. You say. You're so kind. The head teacher said angrily. Then what about me? How am I supposed to explain this to the school? Just tell the truth. Say I refuse to reveal who it was, I said. All right. Actually, what really happened was after I was tricked into going inside, the person locked the door, so I didn't get a clear look at what they looked like either. So you're not technically concealing anything, are you? The head teacher laughed, exasperated lie. Yes. I nodded. I don't believe you don't know who it was. The head teacher, still unwilling to give up, said, how about this? You tell me who you suspect it was. I just won't report it. Sir, I really don't know who it was, and I can't accuse someone based solely on suspicion. I shook my head. If you're not satisfied, you can investigate it yourself slowly. Leaving him with these words, I walked straight out. Who said you could leave? The head teacher shouted, but I ignored him. Downstairs. My parents had already heard the news and arrived anxiously. Not just them, Lin Shiyu's parents were there too. They asked me one after another what happened. I recounted the incident once, then said I was shaken up, tired, just wanted to rest, and didn't want to talk anymore. Seeing me like this, my mom didn't ask further questions and took me home to rest. Actually, the reason I didn't name Chen Minka, I wasn't because I'm some kind of saint choosing magnanimity. It was actually the result of a whole night of careful consideration. Firstly, Chen Minka I's grievances from last night are still vivid in my mind. The world truly isn't fair to everyone. Many people might have experienced similar unfairness, but that doesn't mean someone treated unfairly by fate is irredeemably evil. Chen Minka I is just too young. He chose the wrong way to protest. Secondly, from a practical self-interest perspective, Chen Minka I did this to me. If I retaliate immediately, what do I gain? Someone stabs you, you stab them back, and then what? Have you gained any real benefit? What's lost is already lost. Is mutual retaliation worth it? To put it more bluntly, Chen Minka I is probably not thinking clearly right now, likely on the edge of madness. Someone like that is too dangerous at this moment. If I expose him now, not only do I gain nothing, but it might risk him being expelled from school. That way, I'd ruin his life, completely destroy his future. Wouldn't that push him into a desperate situation? Wouldn't someone cornered fight desperately and do something even crazier? If this incident got to Chen Mingkai completely mad, leading him to do something with consequences I truly cannot bear, then I would really regret it beyond measure. I might not be afraid for myself, but I'm afraid for the people around me. For example, might Chen Mingkai go after Lin Shiyu? If something like that were to happen, I absolutely couldn't bear it. These are the real-world stakes. Our ancestors already taught us how to handle these things with their wisdom. When will the cycle of revenge ever end? It's better to forgive when you can. I feel my choice wasn't wrong. Besides, from a purely self-interested perspective, revealing his identity would only harm him, and I wouldn't gain anything. On the contrary, perhaps not revealing him is how I maximize my own benefit. I'll have leverage over him because of this. He'll owe me a favor because of this. Even if he doesn't feel he owes me a favor, his conscience will bother him. He's a human being, not a devil. Humans have feelings. I rested at home all day. In the evening, Lin Shiyu, Wu Zihan, and Zhang Wei all came to my place to see me and help me catch up on the day's lessons. After 10 o'clock, Zhang Wei and Wu Zihan left. Lin Shiyu and I saw them off downstairs. Seeing Zhang Wei and Wu Zihan's relationship getting better and better, I realized Chen Mingkai. I must have misunderstood. It was clearly Zhang Wei who was pursuing Wu Zihan, but he mistakenly thought it was me. I got dragged into this innocently. You definitely know who it was, don't you? Lin Shiyu asked. I didn't want to hide it from Lin Shiyu, so I told her the answer directly, Chen Mingkai. Lin Shiyu listened in disbelief, but Chen Mingkai is consistently one of the top students in our school. How could he dare to do something so outrageous? Because of you. I looked at Lin Shiyu and teased her. What does it have to do with me? What does it have to do with me? Lin Shiyu asked curiously. I put on an air of mystery, looked up at the moon, and said, mimicking the ancients, since ancient times, beautiful women have always been a source of trouble. You're annoying. Lin Shiyu punched me lightly in frustration. What does it have to do with me? You're so pretty. Chen Mingkai has a crush on you, and I'm his rival in love, so naturally he'd hate me, right? I said with a smile. Impossible. Lin Shiyu's eyes flashed. She pointed at me and said, tell me the truth right now. It definitely wasn't because of that. Spit it out. I'm just not telling you. It was fun teasing her. Being chased all the way by Lin Shiyu, I felt very happy. Missing the chance for direct admission wasn't too big a blow for me. The most precious things to me are my family and friends around me. Their health and happiness are my greatest wish. Lin Shiyu and I eased and chased each other along the way. When we got hungry, we went to eat malatang on the street together. Lin Shiyu kept asking me about it the whole time, but I just wouldn't tell her. When we got back downstairs in the residential complex, from quite a distance, I saw a thin figure. I stopped walking and grabbed Lin Shiyu's hand. What are you doing? Lin Shiyu swatted at my hand. I pointed towards the distant figure. Here comes the answer, Chen Mingkai. Lin Shiyu was furious. She shook off my hand, stormed up to Chen Mingkai angrily, and slapped him right across the face. Why? Facing Lin Shiyu's anger, Chen Mingkai lowered his head. I'm sorry. It was a moment of impulse. Chen Mingkai cried. Perhaps at that moment, he also felt scared. Is she saying sorry useful? Lin Shiyu shouted at Chen Mingkai. If apologies were enough, would the world even need a distinction between good and bad? I'm sorry. I know apologizing doesn't solve the problem, and I know what I did was terrible, but Chen Mingkai cried his eyes out, constantly repenting. Lin Shiyu was very angry and gave Chen Mingkai a fierce scolding. I stood aside watching quietly, not saying a word, letting Lin Shiyu vent her anger at him. Although I chose not to report him, he was indeed wrong. Criticism was still necessary where it was due. Besides, the college entrance exams were actually getting close. Lin Shiyu had been under a lot of academic pressure recently, and this was a perfect opportunity for her to kill two birds with one stone. Soon, Chen Mingkai couldn't stand Lin Shiyu's accusations anymore and knelt before me. I'm sorry. I thought it through. I won't evade responsibility. If you tell the teacher my name now, I won't resent you. Stop, Chen Minka, I confessed. Still kneeling. Why are you being so hypocritical? Lin Shiyu exclaimed indignantly. You know perfectly well Yifan didn't turn you in today, and he won't tomorrow either. Why bother saying things like that? That's precisely because he didn't turn me in that I feel even more guilty. Chen Minka, I said through tears. If Yifan had given my name today, I would actually feel relief. Hearing this, the fierce-looking Lin Shiyu paused for a moment. Only then did she understand why I hadn't exposed Chen Minka even though I knew it was him. Lin Shiyu immediately shot me a look. The look seemed to say, retreating to advance? You're quite something. I smiled and returned a look that said, thanks for the compliment. Then I walked over to Chen Minka and helped him up. It's all right. Actually, while locked in the lab last night because of you, I did a lot of thinking. I feel that you and I are alike. We're both pitiful people. You? Chen Minka, I looked at me in surprise, seemingly not understanding my meaning. Actually, I have an illness. I won't live past 30, I said, looking at Chen Minka. What? Chen Minka's eyes widened instantly. I gave an nonchalant smile. Now you know why I said we're both pitiful, right? Strictly speaking, you're much luckier than me, aren't you? What kind of illness is it? Chen Minka asked in surprise. Why don't you get treatment? If it were curable, don't you think I'd want to live a few more years? I said, shaking my head. At this, Chen Minka was completely stunned, his eyes filled with sympathy as he looked at me. Help me keep this secret. Don't tell anyone. Even my parents don't know about this. Only you and Lin Shiyu know, I said, looking at Chen Minka with utter sincerity. At this, Chen Minka's eyes welled up again. I'm sorry. I was even jealous that you got the spot for the math competition. I'm truly not human. I'm an animal. Chen Minka slapped himself a few times, crying. I smiled and stopped him. Chen Minka, you don't need to blame yourself. This has nothing to do with you. It's just my fate. Chen Minka was moved to tears. I didn't need to say much more, he already owed me a huge favor. By the way, why don't you join our college entrance exam victory group too? I looked at Chen Minka and extended the invitation. With you joining, our group will be even stronger, like adding wings to a tiger. From now on, we can push each other academically. It will definitely benefit everyone. With my character, am I qualified to join? Chen Minka asked, looking ashamed. Only the three of us know about this. No fourth person will find out. Don't worry, I said with a smile. After school tomorrow. Just come over with everyone else, okay? Okay. I'll definitely do everything I can to help you become no. In school, Chen Minka, I said, wiping his tears as he looked at me. Then aren't you personally cultivating a competitor? I asked with a smile. Without a competitor I'd find it boring. Chen Minka laughed. We chatted about some lighter topics, and then Chen Minka left. As he left, he kept looking back again and again. And here I was, only 18, already having reached the pinnacle of moral character, persuading others through virtue. After Chen Minka left, Lin Shiyu looked at me. Aren't you something? Quite the expert at persuading through virtue. Now, are you? Piece of cake, I said with a smile. Now you understand whether my approach to handling this was right or wrong, don't you? I have to admit, that move of yours was pretty impressive. Lin Shiyu praised me. A rare occurrence. I was instantly pleased. How about a kiss as a reward? Dream on. Lin Shiyu huffed, turning to leave. But I thought of something important and quickly grabbed Lin Shiyu. In our past life, you didn't bear me a child. We can't miss out this time around. Anyway, don't even think about touching me before university. Lin Shiyu blushed and left in a huff. The next day, news of Chen Minka joining our Gaokao Victory study group caused another stir. Suddenly, many more people wanted to apply to join. I continued to ruthlessly refuse them. The group size limit couldn't be too large. Too many members would lead to chaos, not only failing to help everyone improve but actually hindering individual efficiency. Zhang Wei and Wu Zihan were also surprised by Chen Minka's addition, but they didn't dwell on it and welcomed him. After all, Chen Minka's grades had consistently ranked first or second in the school for years. The addition of such an academic ace was naturally welcome. However, as time went on, problems soon emerged. Chen Minka, I and Jiang Wei became love rivals. Both had actually developed feelings for Wu Ziyan. And as time passed, we naturally learned more about Wu Ziyan's background. Her father was the chairman of a publicly listed company, making her family extremely wealthy. Of course, I didn't envy any of this. With only 30 years to live, all I needed was for my family to be healthy and well. However, while I didn't care about such things, Lin Xiyu did. Ever since learning about Wu Ziyan's incredibly strong family finances, Lin Xiyu paid more attention to her and their relationship grew closer. I actually knew what Lin Xiyu hoped to gain, but I wasn't optimistic about it. Soon only 2 days remained until the Gaokao. During these 2 days, we all advocated for relaxation, aiming to face the final exam in the best possible condition. Therefore, our study group stopped meeting. Everything that needed learning had been learned. Now it all came down to performance on the day. However, I felt particularly tense these few days. I was scared. I was afraid I wouldn't do well on the exam and would disappoint my parents. With only 30 years to live, I hoped to be my parents' pride throughout my entire life. Precisely because I had set such high goals for myself, the pressure I felt was incomparable. My parents noticed my stress and comforted me, telling me not to overthink. Yet the more they comforted me, the greater the pressure I felt. As evening approached dinner time, knock knock knock. A knock sounded at the door. I opened the door to find Lin Xiyu standing outside. She was dressed especially beautifully today, exuding the captivating charm of a fairy. Gazing at the exceptionally stunning Lin Xiyu today, I gradually became lost in the sight. Have you stared enough? Lin Xiyu asked, blushing slightly. Not yet, I said, staring at her. How can you be so beautiful today? At least you have good taste. Lin Xiyu glanced at me, then took my hand. Come with me. Where are we going? I asked. Don't worry about it, just follow me, Lin Xiyu said, pulling me along. Although I didn't know where she was taking me, following her made me feel very much at ease. We went out onto the street and Lin Xiyu led me to a restaurant for dinner. This place is expensive, isn't it? I looked at the restaurant's decor, then at the dishes Lin Xiyu had ordered. I felt this meal wouldn't cost less than several hundred yuan. Several hundred yuan. For us that was a huge sum. What are you afraid of? It's not like you're paying. Lin Xiyu handed me the menu. Take another look. Anything else you want to order? This is plenty. We won't be able to finish it all. I quickly waved my hand and said. Seeing me like this, Lin Xiyu smiled. What are you afraid of? I have money. Where did you get so much money? I asked. My dad gave it to me, Lin Xiyu said. My future father-in-law. I looked surprised. Yes. Lin Xiyu smiled. My dad said you seemed a bit off these past few days. So he told me to treat you to a nice meal to help you relax. He also told me to tell you, the Gaokao college entrance exam is the day after tomorrow. Just eat and drink what you should, don't put too much pressure on yourself. I felt a surge of emotion listening to this. I hadn't expected my future father-in-law, who usually seems fierce, to be so concerned about me. Thinking of this, I looked at Lin Xiyu, who looked especially beautiful tonight. Looks like your father has completely accepted me. Marrying you should be a sure thing now, right? In your dreams. Marrying me isn't that easy. Lin Xiyu retorted, displeased. You haven't fallen for someone else, have you? I asked, dissatisfied. What are you thinking? The food's here, hurry up and eat. After you're full. I have other plans, Lin Xiyu said, looking at me with a slight blush. I didn't dare disobey her command. Stuffing myself with food, afraid to waste any. This was a big meal treated by Lin Xiyu. Wasting it would be a sin. After dinner, Lin Xiyu took me for a walk down the street. When we passed the men's clothing store, she insisted on dragging me inside to try on clothes, buying me a whole new outfit from head to toe. Leaving the men's clothing store, seeing Lin Xiyu had spent several hundred more yuan, I couldn't help but ask, this wasn't your father's idea too, was it? How much money did my father-in-law actually give you? Don't worry about it. Tonight, just focus on relaxing. Lin Xiyu didn't answer. After shopping and buying clothes, she pulled me along to watch a movie. When we came out of the cinema, it was all ready. Let's go home, I said, holding Lin Xiyu's hand. No, we're not going back tonight. Lin Shiyu stopped, her gaze shifting to a nearby hotel. We're staying here tonight. Huh? I looked at Lin Shiyu stunned. She had clearly said that before university she wouldn't think about such things nor would she date anyone. But now, I looked at the hotel again. What? Lin Shiyu looked at me and asked. This is the most precious gift I'm giving you. Don't you want it? Of course I want it. I looked at Lin Shiyu. She looked truly beautiful tonight. Then you're just shy, Lin Shiyu asked. We were husband and wife in our past life. What do I have to be shy about? I said worriedly. I'm afraid of your dad. He won't kill me, will he? Before I left, I told my dad I wasn't coming home tonight. Lin Shiyu said. And your dad agreed? I asked nervously. He didn't say anything. He neither agreed nor disagreed. Lin Shiyu said, looking at me. So that means he tacitly agreed? My heart leapt with joy. Lin Shiyu nodded shyly. Seeing this, I didn't say another word. Just held Lin Shiyu's hand tightly and walked towards the hotel. The Gaokao ended smoothly. I scored over points. Lin Shiyu scored points lower than me. Both of us underperformed slightly, not reaching our expected scores. But I felt very content. Lin Shiyu and I chose the same university. Would you like me to continue the story? Or perhaps explore the university years of Yi Fan and Lin Shiyu? After Ma Zhaoyu placed the ring on her finger, the crowd erupted into a mixture of shocked gasps and enthusiastic cheers. Ji Yuizhan's father looked like he was about to have a heart attack. But before he could shout for security, I signaled to the side. A group of guests, we had brought along mostly employees from my and Chen Minka-I's companies, started a thunderous round of applause, making it look like a planned romantic surprise. In the chaos of the emotion and the music, the two of them bolted from the stage, hand in hand, toward the exit where our getaway car was waiting. The aftermath of the wedding. The great bride snatching it became legendary in our circle. Ji Yuizhan's father was furious at first. But when Chen Minka-I's company secured its massive investment, he realized the poor kids he once looked down upon were now the rising stars of the business world. He eventually caved, especially after finding out Ji Yuizhan was already planning her life with Ma Zhaoyu. With or without his blessing, my life countdown years left. Despite the joy of my friends, the shadow over my own life grew darker. I was now. The business, my company was thriving. But I began quietly restructuring the legal framework to ensure Lin Shiyu would have total control and financial security. The family, my son, was growing fast. Every time he called me, Dad, a knife twisted in my heart. I wanted to see him go to school, to graduate, to marry. But I knew the biological clock was ticking toward 30. A final wish at the summit. On a crisp autumn night, the five of us, now all married or engaged, returned to the summit of Shizi Hengtian Park. The air was cooler, and we were older, but as we looked at the city lights, the bond felt stronger than ever. We've beaten fate once, Ma Zhaoyu said. Hugging Ji Yuizhan, we can do it again. I looked at Lin Shiyu. She held my hand, her eyes reflecting the stars. She didn't know about the illness. I had told Chen Minka-I, but she felt my urgency, my desperate need to love her every second. The ultimate secret. I pulled Chen Minka-I aside one last time. If anything happens to me in 2 years, I whispered, you take care of the technical side of the business for Shiyu. Don't let her struggle. Chen Minka-I looked at me, his eyes moist. You're still talking about that illness? Yi Fan, you've survived this long. You're a miracle. You aren't going anywhere. I smiled, but inside, I wondered if the reset of my life had a hard stop, or if the love I had built, this child of a company and my real son, had finally earned me a reprieve from the heavens. Would you like me to skip forward to the fateful year of your birthday to see if the prophecy comes true, or should we explore the final 2 years of your entrepreneurial peak? I felt the small, warm hand of my son wrap around my finger. That tiny, firm grip felt like an anchor, pulling me back from the abyss of the dark universe I had been drifting in. Looking around the hospital room, I saw the faces of everyone who mattered. Ma Zhaoyu and Ji Yuizhan, still in their wedding attire but looking relieved, Chen Minka-I, who was gripping the bedrail so hard his knuckles were white, and our parents, whose eyes were red from weeping. What happened? I whispered, my voice sounding like gravel. Lin Shiyu stepped forward, wiping a straight air from her cheek. She was no longer the cold, focused surgeon I had seen in my delirium. She was my wife again. You have a rare vascular malformation in the brain, Yifan. It's likely been there since birth. That's what caused the fainting and the bleeding. The surgery I just performed. It stabilized the immediate danger. I looked at her, my heart trembling. So the 30-year limit. Was it just this? I don't know about any 30-year limit, she said, sitting on the edge of the bed and leaning her forehead against mine. But I do know that we caught it. It's not an incurable fate, Yifan. It's a medical condition. And while the recovery will be long, and we might need more procedures, you aren't leaving us today or tomorrow. Ma Zhao, you let out a shaky laugh, wiping his eyes with his sleeve. You idiot. You almost ruined my wedding twice. Once by snatching the bride and once by dying. If you ever do that again, I'm taking back my share of the company. Qin Mingai stepped up, nodding solemnly. We still have to go back to the mountain, remember? We have to tell the stars that we aren't done yet. I closed my eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of the curse, finally lifting from my shoulders. All those years I had lived with a countdown clock in my head, afraid to truly plan for a future I didn't think I had. I had built a company as a tombstone and treated every kiss like a goodbye, but looking at my son's innocent face, I realized that my wish upon the shooting star hadn't been a plea for a miracle. It was a demand for a second chance. And for the first time into lifetimes, I didn't see a dead end. I saw a long, winding road ahead. I'm not going anywhere, I promised, my grip tightening on my son's hand and my wife's arm. I have too many people to protect, and too much money to make with you losers. The room filled with laughter, the kind of genuine, messy, beautiful noise that only comes after a brush with death. My story wasn't an ending. It was finally, truly, a beginning. Would you like to see how Yifan uses bonus years to turn his company into an empire? Or shall we skip to a future where the five friends meet again as old men on that same mountain?